Candice Stewart is a storyteller, editor, content creator, and curator of the Suburban Girl JA. Self-care and self-preservation are two of the top concepts that she practices, as she's a firm believer in filling one's cup in order to give to others. She operates by way of her philosophy of seeking the lesson in every situation and making herself better. Candice, come make we talk. All right. So Candice Stewart is here with us this morning, or just to have this conversation with us, or this evening, wherever you are when you're watching this. And she's gonna talk to us about like how she has been living her life out loud. Hey Candice, what's going on?
Go ahead. Oh. So you said what's going on? Well, COVID. That is what's going on.
They say you can't call it a pandemic. You have to call it a panorama.
Right. I saw somebody say it's a pescado. A panini, so all of those.
Exactly. Everything else, because
right, like, all of those.
I don't know what this thing is. Exactly.
It's a nuisance.
We move. Things that happen, life goes on, life's happening, same way. Mm-hmm. Just have to find a way to get your thing done, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things, first let's start with the basics, your childhood. Like, what was it like for you growing up? Like, give me a 2 minutes summary of, or more, of your childhood and what it was like growing up.
All right, so me, Candice, I am one of 2 biological children from my parents. Childhood was pretty good. It was decent. My home life was smooth. I enjoyed it very much. But in terms of when I left the house and went to school and interacted with all these other kids and adults in the world, it became a little different because of my complexion. I believe there were numerous occasions where kids who were not as dark as I am, who would make fun of me, make fun of my complexion. So in Jamaica, they have some sayings like, I don't know if I can curse, so I'm not gonna curse.
No, go ahead.
Okay, cool. So they would say things like, to be black is synonymous with shit, and just pretty much degrading and downplaying who I was and who I am as a person because of the color of my skin.
Wow.
And it took a toll on me, more or less, but that was in the public face, as I like to call it, because when I went home in the private space, the more comfortable space, I was okay. I felt loved. I didn't feel the need to become so small because of what other people thought of me. Imagine you are being a child, you are enjoying your life, doing what a normal child is supposed to do, but then kids who are influenced by their own environments from home and what they would see on TV or whatever it was, would see me and other people like me or other kids like me and say, because of our complexion,
wow,
we're not nobody, pretty much. But as I said, it never impacted me to the point where I felt like my life was going to end.
So how did that impact, or how did that affect how you showed up whenever you went on the road? Like,
as a child?
Yeah.
Well, I made myself small, on purpose. I wasn't as vocal.
You're saying
brilliant.
That and cool on her yeah.
Oh gosh. Yeah, so I wasn't as comfortable with who I was out in public as I was with my family and with my closest friends. I felt as though I was being judged constantly just for being a black girl. a little black girl, and I never had locks at the time. It was just natural, untouched hair, and people used to make fun of it, call it kaya, dry up head, whatever else there was for them to say to seemingly degrade me. They did it, so there is the natural kinky tight coily curls, and then there's the skin complexion. And when you hear that and you see it unfold for yourself, myself, and for other people who looked like me, boys and girls, at some point I felt like that was always going to be my public life, my public experience. And for the life of me, I never once told my family. I never told my mom, my dad, my brother, sister. I never tell nobody that this is what was happening. So everybody thought life was good. I was just a regular child. To be honest, I don't know why I never tell anybody. It could have been because I didn't want to bring undue attention, and then I felt like if I told them, they would have brought it to the attention of the school, and then the school would have probably dealt with it. But then when the adults are gone and you're back to being a kid with the other kids, it's going to find on you. Well, I keep saying you, but I'm talking about myself, right?
Yeah.
So I'm sure that was probably the reason. I really don't know. I put so much of that behind me, but I know for sure I didn't tell them. And it's since adulthood that I told my mother.
So so in a sense, you were kind of preserving yourself in a way. This is how I'm viewing it. You can let me know if I'm wrong. Preserving like yourself, because okay, after you come in, you talk to the principal or you talk to the teacher, like that doesn't guarantee that my social status will change or my experience when you're gone will change. And that's you doing that as a child, right? And to me, what it sounds like, it was like an innate response that you had to kind of self-preserve. But that kind of, I guess, it didn't provide an opportunity for someone to show up for you. So in your adult life, do you find that there was a challenge, or there has been challenges or times when persons may have wanted to show up for you, but that self-preservation mode kicked in?
Yes, but before I go into that, my first story that I shared with you was really like primary school stage, right? I never, the innocence of children below primary school level, I guess, protected me from that. But then primary school is when it got serious.
Everybody start smell themselves,
right?
No, what time it is.
And then in high school, it wasn't that bad, I guess, because of the self-preservation. I found a way in which to deal with it by not giving it attention. But it did happen somewhat in high school, and then when you get older, you go through puberty, you start to experience bodily changes. For example, acne. I still have scars to this day, physical scars, and I was teased for that as well, and somewhere in between that, my hair was still a problem. Kids are mean. Oh my gosh, kids are mean. I don't even want to say girls or boys, but kids are mean. So I brought all of that throughout school. Anywho, just to get back to what you said or asked in terms of how I have dealt with it in adulthood, how I have, what was it again? How have I allowed or not allowed persons to show up for me? I like to consider myself a strong person. I know strong is kind of cliche and somewhat relative, because my kind of strength will be different from your kind of strength, right? But I've been told, and I have seen after doing introspection, that I push people away. Not on purpose, but if I am struggling with whatever it is, anything that's difficult for me to comprehend or just to come to terms with, I deal with it on my own. And it's not something that I explicitly say or explicitly express. It's just something that I do. And it's coming from childhood because I didn't feel like sharing with another person, whether an adult or a colleague, somebody of my age group, would have been any kind of beneficial to me. So I've always been a self-soother, and it often backfires, like a volcano. It don't just erupt raps and then go about it business. There's a build up, right? So that happens a lot to this day, and a major part of it is because I rely on self, and mostly self, to soothe and to just cut and go through my problems. So it's something I've worked on. People they've been there for me. I've slowly taken down some of the bricks on the wall. Notice me never say I take down the full wall. Some of the bricks. Give them like a space for push them and you saw them foot there so and climb over.
In my
mind, work in progress.
I'm visualizing like the cinder blocks and someone just push the hand through to try and signal that there's life. There's life on this side, right?
Yes.
I have a question about judgment. So you mentioned that, or kids are mean, or your complexion in here being a problem for them.
Mm-hmm.
How did you ever judge yourself for, you're having the complexion that you do, having the hair type that you do, being the way that you are? How has that, what has your relationship been
with that?
Judgment and criticism of self?
Okay, so I think I was gonna say trifold, but it's probably more than three. I've never really had a problem with loving my complexion or loving my hair or anything really about me, despite all of what I would have experienced as a child and to some extent as an adult, right? So on that front, I think I have always been okay. I've never struggled with trying to change my complexion or changing the texture of my hair personally. But in terms of the hair, at one point my hair wasn't quote natural. It was processed, it was creamed or whatever, it's described as relaxed, right? But that wasn't my doing, that wasn't necessarily my say. How people say natural hair kind of hard. Well, on Black folks, it's kind of hard to manage and hard to maneuver. So the supposed
until you reach high school, scream.
Exactly, right? But that didn't last long because I always hated it. But it was easy, and my hair seemed to flourish. But as soon as I finished high school, that was it. I started to braid my hair and all of that. Anywho, back to the judgment of self. So in terms of physical appearance, I was good, right? But then there is the other aspect of wanting to be better than the other person, not necessarily trying to do better because you don't like the person, but you're trying to improve yourself. So I'm trying to improve myself so that I can say, yes, this person can do it and so can I. And because of that, I was always, to this day, always really hard on myself. So if I get an A-, geez, I'm Candice. Why you never get the A+? Why you never take the next step up? Why you did have to stop there? So why you do this? Why you do that? And it's always, why didn't you, to myself? What if you did so and so? And it's always me not giving myself enough credit, And it's funny, I had a conversation with my mom yesterday about a number of things that I've accomplished and endured and gone through up to this day. And I said to her, Mommy, I haven't been giving myself a lot of credit, and people tell me this all the time, but I don't pay it any mind, like I would have achieved a second degree. I would have started working in media and communications, which is something I've always wanted to do because I put it on a 5-year plan one time. I fling the paper away, never know where I put the paper. And then one day, I just doing some spring cleaning, I found the paper and I was like, whoa, it never happened in 5 years, but shortly after the 5 years passed, it happened. So I've been achieving and I'm like, all right, whatever, just shrug it off. It's no big deal. That's what I keep telling myself because I'm supposed to be able to achieve the next best thing, and I don't usually sit and congratulate myself, sit and drink some wine and say, yes, girl, you did that. That's you.
Yeah.
Right. So I think because of the self-soothing and being battered and bruised figuratively by the words of children and by the words of adults, I found another way to try and be better. But in doing so, I low-key kind of hurt myself mentally.
And judge yourself. Yeah.
Exactly. So, but what's good in all of this is that I've noticed it, I've acknowledged it, I've accepted it, and that's what the first step in getting things done, right? So acknowledgement is key, and I've done that, and I'm actively working towards pushing it to the side and also helping others indirectly and somewhat directly to overcome similar challenges.
So you talked about where you are in like professionally in media and communication, but let's take it back a bit to childhood, and then you can kind of walk me through the timeline as to how you got to where you are right now. So growing up, what did you want to be? But what was like that dream profession, if you had any? Like I still don't know what I want to be, right? So I know I had multiple professions that would change with my mood. But what did you want to be when you were growing up?
So little Miss Candice really never knew what she wanted to be either. I was mostly influenced by what others were saying. Immediate family to extended family to family friends, they're like, oh Candice, you are so smart, and from me young me around up my words, right? Because my grandma played an influential role, and a lot of grandparents for our age group, them kind of put on the Queen's English a little bit extra sometimes, so that rub off on me. Same for my mom. So grandma, mommy, and then it rubbed off on me too. Anyways, there was a time when I wanted to become a doctor, a time when I wanted to become a lawyer, a time when I wanted to become a marine biologist.
What?
But in all of that, there was nothing to say Candice wanted to be any kind of writer, any kind of TV presenter, radio. None of them things there. Nothing to do with media. None of that even passed through my brain. None of it.
So how'd you get there? So like when in Jamaica, grade 9, you have the conversation with the teachers and with the parents to say, okay, we're planning for career. What subjects were you choosing, or what was your career path at that time?
Sorry about that. Right. So when it came to that time when, you talk to the teachers and the parents about what you want to be in life, at that point, I had given up on the sciences because I was like, this is not for me. This is not for me, right? And at that point, I was like, all right, so self to self, talking to me, so Candice, these are the things that you like. These are the subjects that you excel in. So for me, it was what I liked and what I was doing good in. So some of the subjects, I liked them, but I wasn't doing exceptionally well. Yeah. And then the others that I did well in, I never too like them, but them did all right. That's how I progressed. So I selected courses like Spanish, and of course you had to do the 2 Englishes. You had to do the math. What else did they do?
Round 4, was there a subject, a number requirement at Woolmer's, like an art, and you had to do 8? Was there? What was that
Yeah.
number?
I think it was 8 as well. I was
Okay.
shooting for 9, but I believe I did 8.
So
Yeah.
we're at
Food
4.
and
So
nutrition.
maths, English language, English lit, Spanish.
Yeah, food and nutrition. Geography. I loved geography.
Yeah.
What's the next one? I think
With
the
2
next
more.
one.
History.
No, never the history. It was some.
We had to do like HSB. So even if you're not doing like science and physics and chem and I did the bare minimum science subject, human and social biology. Okay, IT
was IT. Wait, but I remember doing bio. So, cause I remember doing an SBA for bio.
Okay.
So the 2 Englishes, the maths, the Spanish, geography,
Food
and nutrition, bio
and IT.
and IT.
There we go. Okay.
So I did all of those subjects, and they classified it as being art.
General, yeah.
Right, you know?
We
So,
had some of the same subjects because Arden had 8. Initially, I was striving for 10 because I wanted to do French.
yeah.
But I did math, English language, English lit, IT. And I took the same approach. Okay, what you like? What do you, yeah. So math, English language, English lit, IT, food and nutrition, geo, and social biology. Food and nutrition are actually my 9th subject. So I did that subject. Accounting, history, and history. Those are my 9.
Okay. So I did those and it was good, you know. My best subject though was English. And English literature, then math, then geo, then Spanish.
So where is IT?
I did it up there because I did well in all of my courses, but in terms of the likability and how much effort I put into the work, you know, I never did much effort. I never put forth much effort for IT. I'm not gonna lie. I never really put out much effort for Spanish either. Most of my energy went into English. Both Englishes, that's what I classify them as. I put work in math because I did hate maths, but because I had to do it, I say, all right, let's just put work into it.
We can just do the thing.
Right. So I think because I loved English so much, and then I loved English literature, one day I said to myself, you know, Candice, you speak well, you seem to write well. Maybe one day you can find yourself in media and communication.
Was this in high school that you were having this conversation?
Yeah, because that's when I wrote the 5-year plan.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
So it was just a thought within myself. I never really do any research. I didn't do anything. It's just oh, by the way, Candice, you know, you're so good at this. So maybe one day in the future, you will get there. And something I forgot to say. At one point in high school, I started a blog. But at the time, the blog was just a little high school girl writing out
journal. You're writing your journal online.
Right, but it was very public, you know?
Yeah.
Well, public to the point where if you had the link, you would see it, because we never know nothing about sharing link.
Sharing the link like with your friends.
Right?
You that?
Huh?
Then time they would have been high five. That was the in thing. Were you sharing your link
for high five?
Yeah.
Not really.
Or with your friends?
With friends, I was doing that, but otherwise, no, I wasn't doing it otherwise.
Yeah.
Anyways, so the blog, I think that was another stepping stone towards the thought process of media.
Unknowingly planting that seed.
Yeah. There you go. So I wrote the 5-year plan, I think, when I was preparing for Cape Cape Level 1, and I literally did it because I was told to do it. I'm gonna say, all right, you want a 5-year plan? I'm gonna write it. I'm gonna give you, and I made a copy for myself, and I put it down. Totally forgot about it. And in my second year of college,
so hold on before you get there. So you're going to college. What, you have to choose something. What was your study? What was your study at UWI?
Right. So at UWI, so before starting UWI, my family endured loss, right? My uncle was murdered when I was in 5th form. My grandpa died a few months after.
Wow.
But by that time I was in lower 6. And my dad died when I was just about doing my last set of courses or CAPE exams for upper 6. So at that time I was supposed to be going to college because I had already applied and I was accepted. But I never want to go because why I must go? My daddy not there. My favorite uncle at the time, him gone. Wow. My grandpa.
Those are 3 important men.
There you go, right? There you go.
Away within short time frame of each other.
Yes. Wow. So at this point, I was like, why? I don't need to go nowhere. Like, I'm gonna dead soon, so why do I need to go? You know. Anywho, the good thing is that I had already been accepted, and
for what course?
Hold on, man. Hold on.
Oh, sorry, me and Russia. Yeah.
One of my teachers, she was my sociology teacher. She has now become a really good friend of mine. She had put measures in to ensure that I could board on campus.
Okay.
I never knew none of this was happening, right? Because going through a lot, and in my head I wasn't going to go anywhere. I had given up on school, given up on life. Anywho, so because of the trouble that was going on in my life in terms of my uncle dying and my dad, he was on the road to passing away because in 3rd form he was diagnosed with cancer, and he went into remission and beat it came back and repeat the cycle. So because of that, in my head I was like, psychology seems to be a good course. Let me apply for that. And that's what I did. And that's what they accepted me for. And so that's what I was going to UWI for my undergrad.
Right.
Tell me if I'm talking too much, yeah?
No.
So I started UWI. Never really business about school. I wasn't putting much effort into anything. Mind you, I'm not upon no scholarship. My family isn't filthy rich or anything like that. But I just bob and weave, and I had no purpose. I had no purpose.
Yeah.
And at one point, I told you I hated math, right? But it's really because I was lazy in terms of figures and just getting the work done.
Yeah.
So I had 2 statistics courses to do, and I failed the first one. But as I remember me saying, I never business about nothing. So I was like, all right, whatever. And then I told my mom, and she was understanding, but is mommy and daddy money I spend? And then reality kind of kick in, and I was like, Lord Candice, you're being selfish now, right? Yes, we understand that you're mourning, we understand all of that, but it's not you one. Yes, I your father, but you have a brother, you have a mom who lose for your husband. People have lost him as well, and they've been coping. You have to find a way to cope. And then my self-soothing kicked in again. So started to self-soothe, and then the overreaching high performance mentality came back as well, where I just went into hyperdrive and I was doing everything. I used to live on Mercy Cole Hall. I was involved in quite a number of things. I had a few clubs and activities on the general campus, and I had my friends. We never really had much time for them, but I was so involved with school and getting my schoolwork done at this point, because I'm like, all right, Candice, if your dad was here, he would not want to see you not do your work. If your uncle was here, your grandpa was here, same kind of thing. So all of that is happening. And then at one point I said, Candice, this is still affecting you, so maybe you should try and seek counseling. So I went over to the counseling office, which was just a few steps from Sequel, and I told them I need help, and I fill out the intake form, and they interviewed me, and then we got the process going and all of that. And I did maybe 4 sessions. I was supposed to do about 10, but we never go back, because the psychologist who I was speaking with, or the therapist who I was speaking with, she was repeating a bunch of the principles and the phrases. There you go. So I'm like, I can't self-soothe myself again. Right? So that's what happened. I just stopped go after the 4th session. I believe it was 4 sessions. I stopped going. She see me out the street. She's like, hey, are you okay? I'm good. It was not good. It was not good. But I told her I was good. So all of that happened.
So we are coming through the journey, like highlighting bits and pieces of things that would have like stood out to you along the way in terms of like your overall development, you are now in media.
Right.
You finish your bachelor's degree. You have your bachelor's in psychology. Like, what was that? Like, graduation days today, how are you preparing to enter into the work world? Or what was your preparation like? Where did you want to work? What did you want to do? Because I'm trying to make the connection to the leap from psychology to media. And what was happening for your blog in the back? Like, this was your journal. Like, you'd have been getting like release from just documenting what was happening in your mind at this point. Thinking that maybe nobody's looking, but maybe they are, but it doesn't really matter. Because you have an avenue to kind of release. What was happening in your mind for all of these things at this point? So, finish school. What's the next step career-wise? Or what was your next step? What was your thought process? In the meantime, as part of your self-soothing, what was happening with your blog? Was that something that you had carried on with? And then, like, how you get from that point to media? Full stream media.
So let me start off with the blog. I was blogging on and off throughout college, but it was still for fun. It had graduated from a young girl venting about her superficial troubles, but it was there. I did not invest a lot of my energy and my time and my heart into it, but I knew it was there as something that I gravitated to every now and then. Graduation is coming up, and a part of me still, I wasn't sure what I was going to do, and it was almost as if I never cared. It would come across as though I didn't care. I didn't know what was gonna happen, and I was just sailing. I was still doing well in school and still being active, but I did not sit and think to myself, what next? What am I gonna do when I leave this place?
Were you having conversations with people about this? Like, was this
excuse me, not really. So the student services and development manager of Mary Sequel Hall, she had encouraged a bunch of us to engage with some practice interview sessions that UA was putting on, and I dragged my feet. I never wanted to do anything, right? Like, I was just so not into it. I never wanted to fix my resume. I didn't want to do anything, and I was like, why are these people bugging me? Leave me alone. Anyways, I caved because why not? I won't lose anything if I go, and if I don't go, at that point I may lose something because an opportunity might be there for me, right?
Yeah.
Anyways, I went and I put on the nicest. It wasn't a suit, but you know, you fling a jacket with a nice top and whatever. So
Put something together, yeah.
I felt real good, right? And it was colorful. It wasn't no black or no dark blue, no dark colors. It was bright and made it look good. I felt good and felt real confident. I got the mock interview and I sat in front of the people and the lady started to judge me by my physical appearance. And I was like, not again.
What did she say? What were those clues that you're like?
So the physical this time wasn't necessarily complexion, but it was choice of clothing. The lady told me I was inappropriately dressed. Why am I wearing such bright colors? And this was years ago, so I'm gonna really remember half of what she told me. But yeah. I remember her.
How you felt.
I felt beaten, right? And I was like, and I took it so graciously, at least I think. So I smiled at her and I was like, okay, well, thank you for your input. I appreciate your candor and all of them something there. And she told me, she and her partner, whoever she was with at the time, who interviewed me rather, they said if this was a real interview based on my attire
alone,
not have given me the job. And in my head, I'm like, so why the people all of the people who my pass would tell me say I must go to mock interview, them see me, them see me and them say, girl, you look good. I psych them, did I psych me out? In my head, I'm like, what? So I did the rounds in the place because it was multiple interviews. But after that first one, we never cared.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I went back to the hall and I told them, and everybody was like, but you look so good. I would want to hire you just because of how you are, how you look. And they said, Candice, don't worry. When you go out into the world, like for real, there are going to be people who will do that to you to try and break you because them just don't want you working for them. And that's true. And I found that to be true in real life, but I'm still tell you about that. And then blogs still happening, but again, it's just real superficial stuff, surface level stuff, nothing deep or anything like what it is now. So all of that's happening, and then a friend of mine said to me, Candice, what you going to do after we graduate? Graduation is like maybe 3 months or 4 months down the line. What are you going to do? I don't know. I must care. She's like, yes, it's your future. And I'm like, but I really don't know. I'm not gonna tell you that I know when I don't know. I'm not gonna tell you, say, I have plans to do this when I legitimately have zero plans. And she said to me, all right.
Were you scared? Not having a plan? Was it?
I'm never afraid.
Like, some people, me is a planner, right? So I got plan A through to Z, and then A subsections 1 through to 10, because like we're going to make this plan develop. So
you want to have contingency and all of them things.
Have to. So the thought of not having a plan or a contingency, anxiety. That's it. I can't function. So I'm trying to put myself, like, you sound like it was just a free spirit, just a room, it's it's whatever.
Where it concerned me, that's the stance or the approach that I took. But when it came to other people, like my friends or my family or colleagues, it was a different approach. Because if you ask anybody at the time, they're going to tell you, Candice, go to Candice. If you want something done, Candice will get it done. Ask Candice one time, and Candice will go do what she needs to do.
So you could show up for other people,
but not for myself. So when you mention planning and you have subsection this and this and this, in my room, at different time periods, I had multiple schedules and timetables. So there was one for school, one as in
well
courses,
organized.
one for studying,
Yeah.
one for extracurricular stuff, and then when we're gonna go home for the so and so, and all of this was happening. But then future plan timetable, future plan schedule, where that not about no son, it was nowhere. Anywho, back to the friend who said to me, she draped me up. I said, pull up your socks, you need to know what you're doing.
Yeah.
So she said to me, she was exposed to my blog, and in us having multiple conversations, she would have known about some of my aspirations, which included media, or just writing, communications. And she said, you do psychology, don't it? There was a course, at the time there was a course at Carimac called Communications for Social and Behavior Change. It was a master's program. And she said, Candice, I did most of the research for you. This look like you. This have a little bit of psychology in there. This have a little bit of communications. It's in Carimac, so it's communication.
That's somebody reaching the hand through that wall, That's that hand that's coming through.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's Avatar, by the way.
Oh.
She bad me up and said. So, and when she told me, the deadline for applications was like 2 days away. So it's like, Jano, you put all of this in front of me. You did most of the groundwork. All I need to do is fill out the form and submit it. And I was like, but I need references. And she's like, but you have people, look how much people love you. Go to them and ask them. And I said, but it's so late. I'm making a bunch of excuses at that time, right? Like, it's just excuse on top of excuse, because even though I was showing up for people, I showed up for her for different occasions as well. I still was afraid. So this is where the acknowledgement of fear.
Did you doubt your ability to succeed at the master's level?
No, because I've always done well academically. It was just the process.
In hindsight, what like most of the times when we procrastinate or we're finding excuses, there is a lingering fear there that's it's just manifesting in this way. So in hindsight, what was that fear, or what do you think that fear was?
I think at the time the fear was doing whatever and excelling at it, and not needing to prove anything to myself and to anybody else, and the fear that I'd have to continue to self-soothe. Even though self-soothing was comfortable, I did not like it. And even though I wouldn't necessarily allow people to help me soothe, I still low-key wanted people to help me soothe. It was just the roller coaster.
You're hitting something right there, because there are a lot of people. Like, life is happening to everybody, right? But there are thousands of people. I can think of 20 right now off the top of my mind, who are women, especially, who are strong. Very strong, or may have been put in a position where they had no other choice but to show up. They had no other choice but, like, maybe their parents, and they have to, irrespective of what I'm feeling, I need to put that to the side and move, because there are people who are depending on me, and I need to figure it out. I can manage. I can do it by myself.
Oh my God, when you said that, Candice, you okay? Yeah, man, I'm good. Tears are run down my face. Of course, I am fine.
You touched on something. It's not that it's not like you like self-soothing, because you don't like it, but just that small space between you doing it and allowing, we couldn't take that leap. We couldn't strike the balance to say, okay, when do I self-soothe, and then when do I let people in to help me with that that right there is important.
Yeah. So I eventually just did what I had to do. I filled out the form, and luckily is a UE course, so the university would have had most of my information, so I never had to go find this document, that document, get anybody to notarize.
Just give me an ID number, and they can just pull
there
up.
you go.
Yeah.
There you go. So most of what I had to do was just to fill out some of the information on the form that they wouldn't have information on prior, and approached was it one or two people to be references for me, and one of those people was Miss Spence. And I said to her, Miss Spence, I know it's late. She not like when nobody got to her late for nothing, right? I was like, oh God, Miss Spence, I'm a gear sub story. I know it's like, Miss Spence, I know it's late, but up to tonight, it was in the night. Up to tonight, I had no intention of doing a master's. I had no intention of doing life. Just being a proper adult. I had no intentions, but now I see that I need to do something. And because I'm not fully sure, or I'm not sure at all about my future, might as well I continue the academic journey. I am a good academic, and it's not something that I wouldn't enjoy, because it's a continuation. And it's also helping me to get into a field that I have always wanted to do, but just never really took the steps to go into it. And she said okay, and she write up something quick, and she said, there you go. She puts in a sealed envelope, and she's like, all right, I'm gonna submit the application. And then the next day, and at this point it was just one day left to submit the application, I submitted it, and this was in 2011. Maybe summer-ish, because graduation is like October, November, thereabout. So it was late summer, or maybe somewhere there. But I was cutting it real close. And with the graduation, and everybody's like ecstatic. Oh my God, congratulations! Picture take, you walk across the stage, you collect your degree, and it's a grand time, right? Graduation done, and I know that I submit the application and I feel good about it, but I say 1 week pass when I know I'm supposed to get some kind of, when I get nothing, I say, all right. I make no plan for find a work, No plans were made. I say, all right, cool. Nothing not going.
You're still on campus at this point.
Yes, I was still on campus, and I was about to start transitioning though to go back home, because I'm not doing a school and not working on the campus or anything. So I said, you know what? While I wait, because I'm still hopeful that I'm gonna get some kind of positive response, I enrolled into a French course. I think it was like a 6-week French course or something like that. And I learned some French. So I was somewhat occupied. And then, and at the time.
I like that. I like that you were essentially just like, okay, I can do French. Let me just get this. Okay. I think there's beauty in doing that, because like life is spontaneous. You can't always want to strive to plan every moment. And sometimes the most important lessons or the best experiences are those that you never plan. You just do. So I like that. I can't, there's an extreme still. That's not to say that you weren't there, but I like that.
Right. So I did French. It wasn't bad. I enjoyed it. It was new. It was different, you know. And in that same time period, a friend of mine from primary school, he was working at a print magazine company, publisher. And he knew about my blogging, and he always liked whatever writing he saw from me. So he reached out to me and he's like, yo, would you like the opportunity to work here freelance? I said,
Huh?
Of course. Why not?
This is for a
You know?
media house.
Huh?
Was this for a media house in Jamaica? Can you say where this was for?
Buzz Caribbean Lifestyle magazine.
Okay.
So, you know, and
Buzz was buzzing. Yeah.
Exactly. Everybody know Buzz, and
Yeah.
my friend asked me, "You want to write?" And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Where's?" So he said, "Give me a sample of something you've done, and I'll give it to my boss, and we'll see how it goes." It was a story about Santa. It was a made up story, but I guess it caught her attention, and she was like, "Wow, I love how you transition from this phase of the story into that phase." By the way, even though I was good in English, I never really learn or fully comprehend the different aspects of a story.
You were just writing.
I was just
no
writing.
Expectation of like, I had to succeed on this.
Exactly. It was always free and natural, you know? So when she's using all of these English terminologies, as much as I did like English and as much as I was really good at writing it properly, I look upon her like,
that wasn't your
exactly. You see what I'm saying? And right here, she employed me, and I started as a freelance writer for Buzz. Wow. And I stayed with them, oh my God, till must have late last year, not late, early 2020. I was freelancing for them for that long. Yeah. There were off seasons. I had a lot of off seasons with them, but I stayed with them up until, if not early 2020, late 2019. Like, I was there for a long time. Yeah. So Buzz was there, and I was learning French, you know, auditoire, carte, and
thanks, sis. Yeah.
There you go, right? So I was like, all right, Candice, things are going slowly, but things are going just the same. And then one day in December, I got a phone call followed by an email about school. And they said, "Thank you for so-and-so and congratulations." Apparently, the application rate for that particular program was low. Okay. So they weren't sure if the program was gonna be executed for that academic year. Anyways, long and short of it, I started school in January or February 2012. And 2.5 years later, I graduated with my degree in communications for social and behavior change, and I kind of shooting over a lot of things. So while I was doing the program, I was a resident advisor on Aston Preston Hall, on UWI campus, and because of that, I was living on campus again. I was working with Mercy Cole Hall, but hey, you know,
life moves, yeah.
Right. So again, with the spontaneity, again with the random changes, and me just trying to move through life, still not really sure about showing up for myself, but again, showing up for other people, because as a resident advisor, you're there for Jamaican kids, regional kids, international kids, and adults. And then I was also tutoring local people, foreign people. Wow. And therefore, as a tutor, you have to guide. I'm young, you know, and most of the people that I was tutoring / teaching / mentoring, they were my age, maybe a few years younger, and a majority of them were older than I was. So I was like, Candice, what you do? What is happening? And I almost fell back into wanting to self-soothe, doubting myself, not because of my appearance or my abilities, but doubting that
like, am I putting on a show
and I could do it well. Right?
Like, you're Scorpio, you tell me these things, but I don't.
You don't see it. Me? you know?
Yeah.
So anywho, I did that for a year. Was it a year? Yes, I did that for a year, and then I left campus. Didn't go back, but while I was in that transitionary phase, I was trying to complete my research paper for the master's program, and it never did have to take me so long, but then laziness kind of settling on me, and of course the not showing up for self came back again, and I was like, Lord, Candice, why do you continue to put yourself in this kind of situation?
Mm-hmm.
And then I had that internal self-talk, and I started to self-soothe. But not only did I self-soothe, I self-reprimanded. You know, I did an audit of myself, and I was like, listen, you are not going to be wasting nobody's money. You're not going to be wasting your time. You're going to get this done. And after I did that audit, I found myself in the library almost every day because I was still tutoring. So I still had to be on campus, but not living there. So I juggled tutoring and then preparing kids for exams. Well, my students for exams, and doing the buzzwork, and then doing my research, and then writing it down, having to meet with my supervisor, and it was just a whole heap of things. And then
lots of moving parts, yeah.
Right, but I finished it. I ensured that my students did well. Most of them, I don't remember percentages right now, but I dare to say that over 80% of my students had passed their courses that year, their exams that year, and I was pleased. And then I submitted my paper for review. So, submitting your paper, that's just a part of it. Me, the student, I am done in my head. But if them not mark it, I won't be able to graduate. So that process took a while because it's not just one person marking it. You have my supervisor, then an external person, and then some other person. So it's 3 people marking my paper. And I was back and forth. My supervisor had marked it already, and the other person, one of the other 2 people, they had done it, but then the external person, I don't know what was happening, but they took forever and a day. When I find out say me do well enough and I can graduate, 2 days before graduation, girl.
What?
And graduation was in October. I submitted my paper maybe July or June.
Wow.
Not before that. And I was running up and down like a headless chicken trying to get this, that, because I was going to graduate. I worked my butt off, and because I had done the purposeful self-audit, I had done
it feels more gratifying now.
And I did all of this. I had to graduate. I had to. And I was working at the Jamaica Red Cross at the time. And I was like to my supervisor,
you need the time off. Look here.
I just find out that I'm graduating and graduation is Saturday. I found out a Thursday my final. And they're like, all right, no problem. So I said, if you not see me, please bear with me. And they're like, all right, go on. You need to graduate. So I'm going to say, good, bless your heart. I get going, I get makeup done, I get picture tech, and I told everybody as much as I could. My mom was able to come, my brother wasn't able to come, but everybody didn't know, and it was a grand time. Me never afraid for say, listen, I did this. This is me, my work. I feel good about it, and
yeah. I feel like your story is a unique one on how to show up for yourself. Only because, from childhood, it has been like a motive or a theme that has transcended with you throughout the years. I hear you saying how you show up for other people and just being helpful, just wanting to see them succeed. But having that consistent challenge where it's like, okay, it's okay to just manage, until it's like, okay, you know what, I'm just going to live. And then being able to position, granted this took time, right? And it had to get to a point where like you were so frustrated that you're like, okay, this has to change. But over that duration of your life, like showing up for yourself and being intentional about it and being purposeful about it. Yeah, you have a very unique story. And I feel like so many people can relate because especially in Jamaica, especially growing up where, and even though like for you, it was grief that or loss that caused that to happen, like growing up in, you know, having your mom being the head of the household, that kind of permeates with a societal norm where women are the head of the household and they kind of influence children in a certain way. So you're imitating what you're seeing at home. Your mom is a strong woman.
Oh my God. So
yes. By virtue of seeing that, you inherit that, right? So you have to show, you have to put on the facade like I'm okay, even when you're not. But I like one of my favorite nuggets about what you said was recognizing that you did not like to self-soothe and allowing persons to show up for you. Because by now you'd have built a community. You talked about how somebody did as much as almost fill out the application for you to the same program that you then said, okay, I'm proud of this. This is something that I did for myself. Yeah. And then that friend who saw that potential in you, even when you didn't even see it, okay, let me send a paper in for Buzz, like we're looking for writers. Like you didn't need a credential for that. You just was doing life. I love that. I love that.
So after graduation, I was still working at the Jamaica Red Cross, but I didn't stay there for that much longer. Maybe like a year after, and I stopped working there. And then I hit a lull or a low. Nothing was really happening. I didn't necessarily give up. I did not give up. I was actively searching for a job, but of course, after a while, you're gonna get sad because you question yourself, what am I doing wrong? Why am I not getting positive feedback? So I would continuously get to the point of being in the interview, sitting in front of these people from various organizations and just not connecting with them enough for them to want to hire me. Wow. And I was like, so you really, I gotta just make me go through some kind of struggle again, And
you had for yourself or more like for God?
Well, both. Both. I was like, and I know you have to go through struggles in life most of the time to get to where you're going, but it shouldn't always have to be that way. A successful story or a success story doesn't always have to be determined by struggle. And I never want that for myself, and of course struggle is relative because I was still okay. I had a roof over my head. I still had money in my pocket, but just never have a work, or the kind of work that I wanted. And it was stressing me out. Like, Lord Jesus, I need a work. Anyway,
they need to be out in the streets. They need to be for these movements. Yes,
right. So I landed an interview, and I went to the place. It was one of those multiple tier level types of interviews. So I passed the first tier, go back on my yard, went back for the second tier, do good, go back on my yard. Third tier now. This
is a panel.
Yeah, but it was people calling in, people in front of me. So it was a teleconference / in-person type of interview. Stress out, right? Stress out. And at this time, I had this crown on my head, you know, my locks were starting to look nicer and everything. So I go sit in front of the people in the room, of course, the person teleconferencing in. So is that the English way? They can't see me. They can't see me, they can only hear me, and you know, I put on the Queen's English and speaking and spoken and answering their questions really well. And then the lady sitting in front of me, interview almost done, you know, and she said to me some question came up about how I dress for work, just regularly. That was a question. And I said, well, comfort is key. If I'm not comfortable, I will not produce my best work. And she said to me, so are you comfortable now? Tone and body language and posture from the lady, I pick up on it right away, right? So I'm like,
in my brow. I was like,
yeah. So I'm like, what does that mean? I don't understand your question. Fully knows me understand her question, but I need to draw her out to see where she's going with it. And she said, well, you know, you seem like a very simple girl. You seem like a very simplistic kind of person. You don't wear makeup. And that's true. I don't really wear makeup unless it's like a wedding or a graduation, you know? And when I wear heels for anything, but I still look professional. And she's like, yeah, you look like a very simple girl. You know, I notice you have your hair natural and locks, right? You don't wear makeup. And she's like, actually, you look like you just roll out of bed. So I'm like, I look for myself now, you know, after she said that. So I'm like, you talking to me? And she said, yes, you are the person being interviewed. So I said to her, I don't understand what you're saying, because you cannot tell me that I just rolled out of bed when I stressed myself out to look as best as I possibly could, to present myself to you, the person, one of the people who would determine whether or not I come to work here. And she said, don't get me wrong, you know, please don't mind the noise in the background.
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah, so she said to me, I like you interview really well, I like your resume and everything, you responded really well to my questions. And the person on the phone at this point, they're kind of confused because they're not seeing.
Yeah, I know what they're hearing is what they're looking for.
Exactly. So she's like, oh, let's say the person on the phone named Shanique. So she's like, oh, Shanique, you know, I know you're not seeing, so I'm just gonna explain to you that she isn't necessarily appropriately dressed, you know. Her pants, she was a big dirty.
Were you looking like a hobo?
According to her, I was, and I have to look for myself, and I was like, what is this lady talking about? The point is, she attacked the living hell out of me, my appearance. And remember I say, you know, me put on the proper English, me put on the best beauty pageant responses, me put on everything, right? I just was not wearing any makeup, I was not wearing any heels, me never have on expensive clothes. I was a normal person looking for a job. And I really wanted to work there because it had stuff to do with writing and, you know, bringing out stories of different businesses and all of that. I wanted to work there, but after that, I cried. I didn't cry in front of her though, because she was not going to win. Hell no, she was not going to win. Wow. So I said to her, you know what? Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day. Wow. And I exited, and of course, I can't call the name. I can probably tell you off air, but never again. And funny enough, the same position that I interviewed for, a few months later, I saw it being advertised again.
You dodged
only to find out, only to find out that they have a problem at that agency, at that organization. not necessarily for the job title that I wanted, but something in the culture isn't right or wasn't right. I don't know if them fix it. And I'm not bashing anybody. However, the lady who looked on me from head to toe and attacked my appearance, she was wearing not her natural hair. Nothing wrong with not wearing a natural hair, you know, but she wasn't wearing her natural hair. She was wearing a wig and she was looking sloppy. So in my head, and this is after I'm done ball out my eye, and you know, I started to think about it and I'm like, Candice, you are a friggin' queen. There was nothing wrong with you and you allowed this lady to beat it up. But whatever. So I started to think about it, and the more I told people about what happened, I explained to them, because them asked me what she did look like, and I said, is somebody in HR, and
expects it like nails done up, like you know, want to feel or nothing, makeup well up, eyebrow well arched, like your clothes and steam and even press it steam, like you're wearing the finest silk. And some 6 heels, legs well shaved, no stocking, like yeah, up.
Girl. And in the interview, I'm talking and responding to questions, and she was fully on her phone, just texting away. And I'm like, me see her, you know, but me say, she a try psych you out. Not pay she no mind. So me I answer the question the same way. But that aside, I felt defeated after she do me so, and I did not get up and brush myself off for a good week, right? I was like, you know what, Candice, take a break from looking for a job, and that's what I did. I went through a lot of other highs and lows, but I don't necessarily want to bring them up here, so I'm just going to jump to current day. Or close to.
We can talk about. So your blog has evolved. So as much as you say that it was on and off, and I feel like journaling is like that. Like a lot of people may have the misconception that when you say you journal, it means that you're spending 2 hours a day every day doing their journal. No, so
some wicked 5 to 10 minutes,
and maybe sometimes months elapse. And you have not taken up a pen because you are busy, like you unintentionally, unconsciously processing what's going on in your mind, and you're not ready to document it, right? So that's journaling. Journaling is just saying, okay, I get a release from writing. Sometimes it's consistent every day for months. And then I take a 6 months break and I just process. But over those years since high school to now, your blog has evolved. Like it's some of the stories are just like I can hear Candice reading this out loud and saying this story, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I see the eyes rolling. I see it. Okay, but you have touched so many people. You have shared your blogs on LinkedIn. You have grown a LinkedIn community with persons who can align and relate to what you're publishing out there on your blog. Like, well, one, how does it feel to have remained consistent, to have started this thing haphazardly, like most good things in your life, see it 10, 15 years later, be something.
Oh my God, 10, 50. Oh, geez. Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm bringing it up, right? To now evolve and one, be such an influence, even to your professional development and how other persons have been experiencing you. And then 2, like to know, say, yo, here is a tangible reference to what has been happening in my life, to what I have done, something tangible that I can go back to, that I've earned from, right? What does that feel like for you? Because I feel like in the back of your mind, or in the back of my mind at least, it was just a record that was playing ever so faintly in the back. So it would have been more of like a launching board. So every time you need to ground, all right, let me go back and write 2 articles. And then you come back in it. So it's like you're constantly grounding when you're writing. That's how I see it. And having read your articles, that's what I get from it. But I'm curious to hear your perspective.
You kind of hit the nail on the head in terms of me grounding myself, or whenever I need to ground myself or just release whatever it is, I go to writing. As much as journaling has been or started with pen and paper, I used to have a lot of books or books that I could write in. I used to start and then stop and then start and stop and then lose the book, and paper get wet up, paper get tear up, book get lost, a whole bunch of stuff. And the pen and paper thing never worked for me. But I digress. The blog
book hoarder. Yeah. And my thing is, like, I have a little OCD, a tinge of OCD. I'm OCD adjacent. So all the books are the same books, right? So let me see.
Show it. Oh my gosh.
They all look like this.
Oh gosh.
Years of this same book because I'm a crazy lady. So sometimes I'm like, okay, so this is from July 2020 to now. And I can go back for years, you'll see the timestamp. But like, yeah, I have to use the pen and the paper. But then I struggle to be like, oh my gosh, I'm looking for 2019.
Yeah, I find it.
Yeah. Maybe I'll get to a point where I'm documenting like on the computer, but I don't know yet. But yeah, we digress. We move.
Right, we move. So, for me, blogging has been my comfortable space. It's been the place where, and I'm calling it a place where I've never felt judged. I know that people are reading and people are judging because my writing isn't for everybody, and that's fine. Not everybody will like you, right? And that's fine. I'm good with that. I don't like everybody, so why would I expect everybody to like
that's
me?
My premise. I have this thing where you could be the ripest, sweetest, juiciest peach in all the lands. And people who just don't like peaches.
Exactly. That's fine. That's fine. There are people who like peaches and some people don't like peach.
Yeah.
Whatever, right? But it's been a place and a space where I've felt my most comfortable. I've never felt judged or anything of the sort. And because of that level of comfort, I have been able to just vent. I have been able to tell parts of my story, parts of other people's story, and it feels natural for me. It feels
like a form of like talk therapy.
Yes, big man thing. Legit, that's what it is. I feel at home. So whereas when I just write a regular piece related to me or related to nothing in particular, it just flows off the top of my head. But when I'm sharing other person's stories, I speak with them like how I'm speaking with you now, whether on the phone or in person or whatever. And we have a conversation, and it's an interview, but it doesn't feel like one. It's more of a conversation. And when we're done that, we just write what we talk about. Some things cannot be shared like ever because of confidential reasons, and then I share it. And of course there will be times when I say, will the people reading this like it? You always gotta have a little bit of doubt because you just don't know. but I still share it anyways because why not? And I share it, and the person who I would write about, or the nothing that I write about, and share it to people, share it with people, they like it. So I'm like, all right, I have some kind of an audience, right? It's not any major, big, over the top audience, but there are people who read my stuff, and there are people who, when they don't see nothing from me for months,
They
them
ask
reach
you.
out and they're like, what's going on? I miss your writing. I need more. What is happening? And when that happens, I'm like, somebody is watching. Somebody is reading my stuff. Like, here I was thinking that I just write and I write and I write into oblivion. Nobody knows work. But there are people who watch. There are people
And
watching.
not only that, for other
Inspire.
people who may be wanting to start something, do continue with something, step out and step up the game a little bit more. Like media in general, society in general, can sometimes portray that if you're not the big star, if you're not making the big money, if you're not having the big endorsements, then you're not really doing much. But there are billions of people in the world, billions, and many of them appreciate like your little corner of what you're doing.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it all goes back to who you're doing it for. And maybe in your case it was a selfish thing. You're doing it for yourself, and by virtue of doing it for yourself, which was about time, that's you showing up for yourself, it can benefit other people. So they're benefiting from your life lessons, they're benefiting from your conversations there, but essentially this is how I'm doing it for me. And you're subliminally, indirectly giving them permission to do this thing. You don't have to be writing. It can be sewing. It can be doing hair. It can be doing nails for themselves. And as I read your articles, and I'm like, they're launch pads for conversations to say, okay, well, something like that happened to me. This is what happened. Like you're on yourself in public, or having a deep conversation where you're like, like that triggers something, or it articulates how you may have felt about something, but you just never know how to say it. So many times I've read articles, that's how I feel. That's exactly how I feel. I just didn't know how to say that. And so, like, I feel like more than anything, as part of living your life out loud, essentially, it's giving other persons the permission to do that. It's giving other people the permission to show up for themselves. And so that self-preservation, I feel like over these past 10, 15 years, even though I don't feel like that all the time, but I feel like you're at the point where you are showing up for yourself 100%. You might have, we have lapse moment, we have hills and valleys. Sometimes situations put us in that valley. Sometimes we intentionally step back to introspect and review, and we're in that valley. But it's an opportunity. You're never springing back. You're never grounding from the same position. It's always a little higher. So you come up a little bit, and then you're gonna. We have the ebbs and flows, but I like that, and I feel like if ever there was a question onto, what I really do for myself, your blog is like that physical, tangible representation that I did this thing.
So to just give the viewers some insight on the blog, it started out in high school. It started out as Love Letters. The title or the blog name started out as Love Letters from a Suburban Girl to the World. And I believe the first story I wrote, it may not be on the site anymore because I may have removed it.
I'm sure you're like clinging. Okay.
I think I was waiting on a bus to go home in the bus center, and there was an old man and I believe his wife and another old person, old lady was with him, and the man skipped me. I was not gonna have that. We are in a line. I was ahead of
Your
you.
turn. Hello.
It's your turn, right? So the man just do a step out and a step in, but in front of me, him step in. So I load up my mouth and I'm like, paraphrasing, what are you doing? You know, like you need to go back from which part you come. And it turned into me, this young girl in her school uniform, cussing out an old man. Oh my goodness.
Oh no.
Cussing out an old man because of the principle of the situation.
Yeah.
You don't cut a line. You know, if you want to ensure you get a seat, you say to me, may I go in front of you? Something. But if you're behind me, how you gonna reach in front of me? Oh, that makes sense, right? So me and this man and his wife, or the lady, we had it out, and at some point the cuss out stopped, and we all ended up on the bus and we all got to sit. And and I took lessons from it. I was like, you know, I learned some lessons today.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember what the lessons are, but put on some lesson. I'm gonna say,
hey, and sometimes you can't
standing up for yourself, huh?
Right. I was say sometimes you can't see the lesson in the moment. Like sometimes you need time to marinate on it a little. You just know, so okay, this is a spot that we have come. I don't know how I feel about this just yet. Yeah. Let me come back to that.
Yeah. So I put some lessons down. So I told them, my readers, or at the time, I just put it down, put it out there. This is what happened, and this is what I learned from it. And I believe that was my first blog post. I cannot remember. And it was a free blog. I never paid no money for it or anything. Hosted on WordPress, all of that. So you see, Suburban Girl.
Something that WordPress that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right. And from there, I started to write other things like, this happened to me today, that happened to me today, or whatever. I was just writing and putting stuff out there in the world, not knowing who's gonna read it. But of course, I shared it with like my mother, my sister. Never shared it with my brother. A few of my friends, so a little bit of people.
Stick up there. Why you never share it with your brother?
I don't know. I just never shared it with him. I didn't think he would have been interested in it. Funny enough, today, anything I share, I may not send it to him directly. Him read it and him like it and him share it with other people. How I know that him share it with other people? Because other people who him send it to come back to me and say, oh, something like that. And me never share it with them. So it's either them do a random Google search, find it, and see me, or he sent it to them, right? Deduction. Anyways, so that's how the blog started. And it was like that during my hill and gully, my hills and valleys, where I just vented like that. And then at some point in college, it got a little bit more serious, like the level of writing and the level of reasoning. It was still the same, the essence of it with the lessons and the storytelling and all of that. But you could tell there was growth in the writing and growth in the expression. And then sometime while I was at UA, that was my mommy. Sometime while I was at UA, one of my brother's friends, he had an idea to launch a podcast, and it was called A Lighter Side, Yard Info, A Lighter Side of Jamaican News. And I don't know, why did Andrew reached out to me? He probably knew about the blog, but me never shared the blog with him, so I don't know if it was the blog. But he reached out to me and said, hey, I have a proposal for you. It's nothing that is paid, but it's gonna be fun. And at that time, I had a voice that me never know somebody did have. Not a singing voice, but a speaking voice, And he proposed it to me, and I was like, all right. I'm gonna say, but I don't know Omega manage, because I have schoolwork, I have exam, me have assignment, me have this there extracurricular, me have that there extracurricular. My life was busy.
Yeah, very involved.
Right. So he's like, no man, you will figure it out. And I did, because I was interested and wanted to know what to do, how it's how it's gonna progress and all of that. So I started and
Candice, shift your camera over a little bit.
Oh, no, sorry. Yeah. You get excited and your hand just move. You can see me now, right?
Yes.
All right, cool. So so we did that. And
what year was this?
Oh, child. Okay, so UE was between 2008, undergrad 2008 to 2012. So that was probably like 2019, 2010, thereabout.
2009, 2010?
Yeah.
Okay. It's 2019.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, so 2009. Sorry about that. So and Yard Info was a mixture of podcasting and blogging. So, and it was Andrew, me, Johnny Daly was also on the team. Yes. If me must see Johnny out the road and remind him, he will remember the podcast, but I can guarantee you Johnny not gonna remember me. But it's fine. It's fine. Anyways, so we did that. I was helping behind the scenes with the podcast, and I was also a contributing writer. Again, not realizing that doing this was gonna push me into writing full-time, 9 to 5, so doing something I like, and then you get the gist.
Yeah.
So, we did that, and a few other episodes, the podcast episodes, I was behind the microphone and ask a question. I did nervous bad, I'm not gonna lie, so nervous, first time like that.
Because I feel like your camera angle is like this, so half of your face. Yeah, there we go.
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay, so behind the microphone, and we were just making fun of current events happening in Jamaica. So I don't know if you remember Cliff Twang when we had
some crossings. Yeah.
Expand on that. And I had written an article for Yard Info addressing the fact that all of Jamaica was making fun of the man, and I was saying it boils down to, yes, it was seemingly funny in the moment, but then we have educators and people who would never dare have their kids talk like that, but that's patois. That is how Jamaicans speak. We should never jeer or about somebody who speaks that way. And it was a really good piece. I made it really proud of it, and we also spoke about it on the podcast, and we said, yes, all of this happened, but we are forgetting that there is a problem. So even though him talk about what's happening and him
run up, he talked about it was funny, they still,
it's still a problem. We cannot make fun of somebody like that. And there are many people in Jamaica and even regionally who have issues, quote, properly expressing themselves, and it wasn't just us that was talking about it. Like other people in media, other people in social Jamaica were talking about it. And I say all of that to say I was exposed to the world of other forms of writing and blogging, like the media, more of the media landscape. Because I remember even though I went to Carimac for my master's, that was long after doing this podcast thing. I had no intention of going to Carimac. Remember me telling you, right? So it's like foreshadowing, doing all of these things, not realizing that it's almost like self-fulfilling prophecy. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So life was kind of giving you little hints along the way.
Yes.
But, so like, let me just do this because I like it.
Exactly. you know, like a child just doing stuff because I want to color. Let me color. Yeah.
Yeah, there's beauty in that. There's beauty
Yes.
in that. There's beauty
Yes.
in that. All right, so
There.
we've been talking a long time right now, like
Mhm.
not over hour, but that's fine. But I want to, for the person who's watching this, who may be in a position where they have, something, right? Like 2020 was a rough year. There's no going around that. 2021, boy, is a close second. I don't even know if it's, the jury's still out. Other than that, it's better than 2020, right?
I'm not sure, but
yeah, I'm still.
yeah,
We're not there yet.
right.
And they have this shift. They're contemplating a pivot, or they don't even know. They're intentionally avoiding a plan. They are where you were at when you were looking at your life's decisions, or not looking at them, right? And being busy with helping other people. What would you say to that person right now who is watching you, who is where you have been, knowing your experience, knowing how it unfolded, knowing where you are at right now mentally, all of them? What would you say to that person?
Firstly, if you think it's hard now, it is going to get harder. You have your friends, you have your family, you have people in general, like well-wishers, who want nothing but the best for you. They are in your life. Just remember, say, they don't owe you anything. Nobody in this world owes you anything at all, right? Even if you go all the way out for them, don't expect them to do the same for you. It would be nice, but it's not always reciprocated, and you have to come to terms with that. You have to accept that as fact, as true, and the sooner you accept that, the better off it will be for you. Don't stop. Even if you don't know what you're doing, don't stop. Just keep doing. Do something. Do anything at all. That is not detrimental to your health or anybody's health. Do something. If you stop, you're gonna lose yourself altogether. Don't just keep moving. You can pause, but while you pause, like when you're exercising and them say you're walking or you're running and you just want to stop, them say don't stop. Slow down, but don't stop. Think of it like that. It's like a marathon, right? It's like a race. Yeah. Some people are go faster than some, and it's okay. You are on your own journey. If you experience loss of any kind, it could be death, it could be losing a friend in a friendship or anything of that nature, that's also okay. It's a part of life.
But don't stop.
Yeah, just that's the crux of it. Don't stop. Remind yourself daily that no one owes you anything, and you have to do it for yourself. And you're gonna fail plenty, you're going to fail plenty. Some people don't call it failure. You might not call it failure. You can call it development, character building, a learning moment. In my blog post, I call it life lessons. Even if it's something good, if it's something bad, there's always a lesson, at least one lesson to learn. Look at life that way, and if you do it that way, I'm not saying it's gonna be easier, but the journey will be clearer for you, or the pathway will be made clearer for you. And if you don't know what you want to do with your life, that's okay. That is more than okay. You're not gonna always figure it out. Some people are gonna know from jump that this is what they want to do. This is the pathway that they want to go on. Okay, good for them. You're not bad mind a body, and you're not being all the way selfish, but at some point you have to think about yourself. You have to think about what you can bring to the table for yourself, and you have to do a lot of self-auditing. You can audit yourself one time, That's good, but you have to do it 2
I do it
times.
once a year. I'm very intentional. I'm a planner. So towards the end of the
There
year,
you go.
all right,
There you go.
next year, that's all right.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in business, they call it your SWOT analysis.
Oh, yes. There, yep.
What are the weaknesses? What are the
Mhm.
opportunities? What are the threats? And
Mhm.
you sit down and you're like, all right, like,
Very good.
get to know me. A lot of people don't know themselves, or they're afraid to admit certain. Oh, me, something I like work. That it's just that simple. Just being aware, being open about it, being honest about it. Yeah, I do that once a year.
Exactly, and look deeper into the activities that you like, the things that you like to do.
Mm-hmm.
You never know. It might be your release in the future. It might even
be your purpose.
Be the purpose that you realize.
Yeah.
It might help you to help yourself, and in you helping yourself, you will help other people. Because when you work on yourself, you don't realize that you're helping other people, but you are. Because people will look on you and they will see your development. They will see all the struggles that you've been through.
Possibility for themselves.
Whether or not you talk about the struggles, people should know that life is not a bed of roses, and because of that, they're gonna look at you as inspiration. And even on your darkest days, there's somebody else with an even darker day, and when you stop, it affects them. Because people watching you, and I don't mean bad mind people, I mean people who look to you without you knowing for help. Keep going, and as I said, don't stop. You have to slow down sometime, because if you speed, you're gonna crash, right? But those are the steps. Or do that. Do that. Yeah.
All right. I love that. That's a good note to close on. Candice, thank you again for sharing your story, for sharing, how through constant introspection, you have been able to become so aware of how you go through this life, how you experience life, and on your journey to mastering yourself, have been able to live your life out loud, and have invited us to be a part of that process. I really appreciate it. It definitely sometimes helped to make you feel like, okay, I'm not alone. It's not me alone, think so. Yes, here is another perspective, or here's another way to look at it. I love that, and I really appreciate it. For persons who want to check out your stuff, your writing, or even work with you, where can they find you? Tell them the blog info, and I'll put it in the description box so that you guys can click through, but tell them where they can find you.
Okay, perfect. So the blog site is thesuburbangirl.com. Yes, it's no longer WordPress. Anyways, the Suburban Girl.
We have evolved.
.com. And on Instagram, on Twitter, and on Facebook, it's also, it's the Suburban Girl JA. Podcast is coming. I know we're wrapping up, but I forgot to say, the Suburban Girl JA podcast is coming. I
love it.
Logo ready. I have pre-recorded a few stuff.
I'm putting myself as a suburban girl myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I still getting familiar with the podcast space, even though I was pre-exposed to it. Me still need to brush up my learn.
I love that.
Right. So I'm gonna send you the link to that after this. But so Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, the Suburban Girl JA, and the blog is thesuburbangirl.com. Right. So on any of those platforms, you're supposed to be able to find the Suburban Girl JA. That's me.
And they can check out what you got going on. I love it.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Candice, for having me. Yeah. And I'll see you guys on the next one.